You think you're being loyal. You think you're being kind. You think you're being a good person. But strip away the comforting language, and what's left is something far more dangerous. You are bleeding for people who would never bleed for you. You are calling it love, while it quietly dismantles your future. You are calling it virtue, while it drains your power. This is not morality. This is self-destruction wearing a halo. There is a truth about human nature that most people sense but refuse to face. A truth Niccolò Machiavelli understood long before modern psychology tried to soften it. Not everyone can be saved. And more unsettling than that, not everyone wants to be saved. Some people are not drowning by accident. They are drowning by design. They are not looking for a hand to climb out. They are looking for something to cling to while they sink. And if you offer yourself, they won't rise with you. They'll wrap their arms around your neck and use your strength to stay afloat while you disappear beneath the surface. You know these people. You've felt them. The ones whose lives are always on fire. The ones who turn every conversation into a crisis. The ones who take your energy, your time, your money, your emotional labor, and repay you with exhaustion, guilt, and quiet resentment. You tell yourself that if you stay patient, if you sacrifice a little more, if you explain one last time, something will finally change. But Machiavelli would look at this pattern and call it what it is: strategic suicide. A man who tries to be good in a world that is not good does not survive. He is consumed. Compassion without boundaries is not kindness. It is an open gate, and through that gate walk parasites, manipulators, and people who have learned that weakness in others is a resource. They don't need to overpower you. They only need you to keep saying yes. Today, we are cutting into that illusion, not to make you cruel, but to make you sovereign. Because this lesson is not about abandoning humanity. It is about preserving your power so it can be used where it actually matters. Before we name the types of people you must never try to save, you need to understand the trap itself, the savior trap, why you rush toward chaos, why you feel guilty for stepping back, why saying no feels like betrayal. You were conditioned to believe that your worth is tied to your usefulness, that goodness is measured by how much pain you can endure for others, that love means staying, even when staying is slowly killing you. But power does not work that way. Energy is finite. Time is finite. Attention is finite. And every unit you pour into someone who refuses to grow is stolen from your future self. Imagine a ship at sea. It has limited space, limited supplies, limited structural integrity. If you bring everyone aboard, the reckless, the unstable, the sabotaging, the ship does not become compassionate. It sinks. And when it sinks, it doesn't just drown the guilty. It drowns the innocent, including you. To save the ship, you must decide who gets on deck. This is what Machiavelli understood, and what modern culture desperately tries to hide. Sometimes the most merciful act is restraint. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is step back and let reality teach the lesson you keep interrupting. When you rescue someone from consequences, you don't heal them. You anesthetize them. You steal the moment where illusion shatters. The bottom, the place everyone fears, is often the only place where change becomes possible. Now we begin. The first type is subtle. So subtle that it often disguises itself as bad luck. This is the architect of chaos. They are always surrounded by disaster. Jobs fall apart. Relationships implode. Opportunities collapse. At first, you feel compassion. You think fate has singled them out. You step in. You lend money. You offer advice. You connect them to resources. And for a moment, things stabilize. Then the chaos returns. The job you help them get is ruined because the boss was out to get them. The money vanishes into another emergency. The pattern repeats. Always new reasons. Never responsibility. This is not misfortune. This is character. These people are not unlucky. They are undisciplined, impulsive, and allergic to self-reflection. They ignore red flags. They antagonize stability. And when the consequences arrive, they call it fate. Here is the danger. Chaos is contagious, not mystically, psychologically. When you tether yourself to someone who manufactures instability, you inherit the fallout. Their crises spill into your life. Their reputation stains yours. Their financial fires burn your resources. Machiavelli understood this clearly. When you tie your boat to a sinking ship, intention doesn't matter. Physics takes over. The architect of chaos does not want peace. Peace would demand accountability. Chaos gives them attention. Chaos excuses their stagnation. Chaos keeps them the victim instead of the architect. If you keep shielding them, you are not helping. You are enabling. You are becoming their umbrella in a storm they refuse to leave. Step back. Let the rain hit them. Let them feel the cold. Because only cold teaches the discipline to build shelter. If you stay close, their bad luck will become yours. Protect your distance. Protect your peace. Some fires are not meant to be extinguished, only avoided. And this is just the beginning. The second type doesn't announce itself with chaos. It arrives quietly, almost politely. This one doesn't burn everything down at once. It drains you slowly, patiently, until you wake up one day feeling empty and strangely guilty for wanting your life back. This is the bottomless pit. At first they seem grateful, overwhelmingly so. You help them once and they praise you like a savior. You feel seen, needed, important. That's how the hook goes in. Gratitude becomes the bait. The second time they ask, it feels easier, familiar. You help again. The thanks are shorter now, less eye contact, less warmth. Still there, but thinner. The third time, they don't ask at all. They assume. And when you hesitate, just a little, they react. Not with understanding, but with irritation. Passive aggression. I thought you cared. I thought friends helped friends. The kindness you once gave freely is now treated like a debt you owe. This is the psychology Machiavelli warned about. Gratitude is fragile. It evaporates the moment help becomes expectation. And expectation, when denied, mutates into resentment. The bottomless pit does not lack resources. They lack character. No amount of time, money, advice, or emotional labor will ever be enough, because what they are trying to fill is internal, a void built from entitlement. They believe the world owes them relief, and you have volunteered, unknowingly, to be the delivery system. Here is the darkest part. The more you help them, the more they grow to hate you. Dependence breeds contempt. When someone relies on you to survive, your strength becomes a mirror reflecting their weakness. And human beings do not love mirrors that expose them. They resent them. That's why the people you help the most often speak the worst of you behind your back. That's why generosity turns into betrayal. Your support highlights what they refuse to develop in themselves. Machiavelli understood this dynamic well. If you must help, help once, decisively, in a way that does not create ongoing reliance. Or do not help at all, because prolonged rescue creates a master-dependent relationship, and no one respects the person they depend on. There is a simple test to expose the bottomless pit. Say no, politely, to a small request. Watch the reaction. A healthy person respects the boundary. They adapt. They understand. The bottomless pit reacts with guilt, anger, or emotional withdrawal. They punish you for closing the tap. That reaction tells you everything about their inner structure. Run from this dynamic. Not slowly, immediately. You cannot save someone who believes survival is something others owe them. You will pour your life into them and be met with a hollow stare asking, "Is that all?" Now we move into darker territory. The third type does not drain you through need, but through envy. This is the smiling saboteur. They are often close. Too close. A friend from the early days. A peer who started beside you. Someone who knows your history, your weaknesses, your hopes. And then you grow, you improve, you succeed, you sharpen yourself. And they don't. They don't attack you openly. That would be too obvious. Open enemies are simple. You can see the blade. The smiling saboteur hides it behind concern. Listen carefully to their words when you share good news. "That's great, but aren't the hours brutal?" "I'm happy for you, just be careful." "I don't want you getting hurt again." It sounds like care. It feels like protection, but beneath it is poison. They are not trying to save you from danger. They are trying to save themselves from the discomfort of watching you rise. Your success forces them to confront their stagnation, and instead of climbing, they pull. Machiavelli warned that envy is the most destructive force in any court, any organization, any circle. The envious person does not want what you have. They want you not to have it. If you try to bring them along, they will sabotage the journey. Subtly. Perfectly timed drama before your big moment. Bad advice disguised as realism. Leaked information. Doubt planted where confidence should grow. Envy is not ignorance. It is a disease of the soul, and it cannot be cured by reassurance. The correct response is not confrontation. It is concealment. Hide your victories. Hide your plans. Hide your joy. Machiavelli did not preach silence out of fear, but out of strategy. Do not give ammunition to someone who secretly wants you to fail. Be bland around them. Be boring. Be struggling. Let them feed on mediocrity while you build quietly elsewhere. Because if you try to heal their insecurity with your love, you are hugging a bomb and hoping it doesn't detonate. Now pause. I know what's happening. Faces are appearing. Names you've avoided thinking about. And with them comes guilt. That voice whispering, "But they need me. I'm different. I can change them." That voice is not compassion. It is ego. It is the arrogance of believing you are powerful enough to rewrite human nature. You are not a god. You are a human being with limited energy, limited time, and a finite nervous system. If you keep plugging yourself into people who run on chaos, entitlement, and envy, you will burn out mentally, emotionally, and eventually physically. Stress is not abstract. Betrayal is not symbolic. They destroy you molecule by molecule. And we are not done yet. The next three types do not attack your resources. They attack your identity. They manipulate your empathy, your intellect, and your hope for redemption. And once they're done, what's left of you barely recognizes itself. The fourth type does not come at you standing tall. They come kneeling. This is the professional victim. They do not threaten you. They disarm you. They don't demand power through force. They harvest it through sympathy. Machiavelli understood something most people miss. Power has two faces. Fear commands openly. Sympathy commands quietly. And sympathy, when weaponized, bypasses logic and plugs directly into your emotions. You must learn to see the difference between someone wounded and someone invested in their wounds. A true victim wants escape. A professional victim wants an audience. They cultivate their pain. They polish it. They turn trauma into identity. Their suffering is not a problem to solve. It is a currency to spend. They speak in absolutes. I can't. I'm too broken. You're hurting me by expecting responsibility. Every sentence is designed to keep you frozen in guilt. If you try to save them, you enter a rigged game, because saving them would mean stripping away the very thing that gives them leverage. If they heal, they lose attention. If they grow, they lose the excuse that shields them from accountability. So they fight every solution. You offer guidance. They explain why it won't work. You offer resources. They say it's too hard. You offer support. They collapse under the weight, forcing you to carry them. Machiavelli would see this clearly. Every time you rescue them, you teach them that helplessness pays. You are not healing them. You are funding the performance. You are paying them to stay broken. And here is the most dangerous moment. The moment you stop. When you finally say, I can't carry you anymore. The mask falls. The lamb becomes a wolf. The professional victim turns on you with shocking speed. They rewrite history. They frame your exhaustion as cruelty. They need a villain to complete their narrative, and by trying to be their hero, you auditioned for the role. Do not play this part. Compassion for a professional victim is not love. It is self-erasure. True respect for another human being sometimes means refusing to participate in their theater. Only when the audience leaves does the actor stop performing. Now we move to the fifth type. This one attacks your mind. The arrogant fool. This is not ignorance. Ignorance can be cured. This is willful blindness. A person so attached to their own opinions that reality itself becomes an enemy. Machiavelli warned rulers of this exact danger. A leader who believes himself wise cannot be counseled. You cannot guide someone who thinks they are already above guidance. You watch them repeat the same mistakes. Bad relationships, terrible investments, needless conflicts. You see the cliff before they do, and because you care, you try to warn them. What happens? They argue. They mock. They twist logic until truth looks like insult. They do not want clarity. They want validation. And when you offer truth, they experience it as an attack on their ego. So, they attack back. Here is the brutal law. You cannot reason someone out of a position they did not reason themselves into. Every debate with the arrogant fool is a trap, circular, exhausting, draining. You walk away questioning your sanity while they walk away unchanged. And when they finally fall, and they will, they learn nothing. They blame circumstances. They blame others. They may even blame you. Stop trying to be the teacher to those who refuse to be students. Machiavelli's advice here is colder, but cleaner. Silence. Let reality teach the lesson. Reality does not argue. It does not persuade. It delivers consequences without explanation. Nod. Say, interesting. Step back. Protect your intellect. Do not dull your blade trying to cut stone. Wisdom is wasted on those who are intoxicated by their own certainty. Now we reach the final type. This one is not confused, not needy, not envious. This one is dangerous by nature. The scorpion. You already know the story. The scorpion asks the frog for help crossing the river, promises safety, swears logic is on their side. Halfway across, they sting. As both sink, the frog asks why, and the answer is simple. It's my nature. The scorpion is the repeater, the betrayer, the one you have forgiven again and again. They lie. You forgive. They cheat. You forgive. They steal. You forgive. Every time they cry. Every time they promise transformation. And every time the pattern repeats. Machiavelli warned that men do not change their nature. Behavior is not an accident. It is a habit. Character is a pattern. The best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. When you save the scorpion from consequences, you are not redeeming them. You are training them. You teach them that they can sting and survive. Worse, you teach them that they can sting you and still be welcomed back. Forgiveness to them is not mercy. It is permission. And with every return, you lose self-respect. And they lose respect for you. Because no one respects someone who abandons themselves repeatedly. Machiavelli's solution here is the hardest of all. Amputation. No gradual distance. No friends from afar. No open doors. You cut it cleanly, completely. It will hurt. It will feel like losing a limb. But that limb is infected. If you keep it, the poison spreads to your core. The scorpion cannot be saved, only avoided. Now you see them. The architect of chaos, the bottomless pit, the smiling saboteur, the professional victim, the arrogant fool, the scorpion. You see them in your contacts, at your table, in your past, and now comes the real test. Because walking this path will make you look cold to those who live off warmth they never earn. And that awakening is where everything truly changes. Now comes the weight. Because once you see these patterns, you can't unsee them. And the moment you stop playing savior, something uncomfortable happens. You are judged. You are labeled. You are recast as selfish, cold, Machiavellian, good. Wear those accusations like armor, because what the weak call cruelty, the wise call clarity. What manipulators call abandonment is simply you stepping out of their script. This is the moment you transition from savior to sovereign. A savior burns himself alive to keep others warm. He jumps into every fire, believing sacrifice proves virtue. A sovereign builds a lighthouse. He stands firm. He shines. He does not dive into the waves. Those who want to be saved swim toward the light. Those who want to drown disappear into the dark. The lighthouse remains. This is the line you must cross. You are not responsible for fixing broken adults. You are not accountable for the choices of people who refuse to learn. You are responsible for one thing only. The vessel that carries your life forward. When you stop trying to save the unsavable, something almost unsettling happens. Your energy returns. The constant anxiety fades. Your mind becomes quieter. Your finances stabilize. Your body relaxes. It feels like coming home to yourself after years of being occupied by everyone else's emergencies. Why? Because power leaks through obligation, and you just sealed the cracks. Now you can finally help the few who deserve it. The rare ones. The ones who listen. The ones who grow when given water instead of rotting in it. The ones who return loyalty instead of converting it into leverage. That is real strength, not endurance, but selection. Machiavelli understood this deeply. He wrote that everyone sees what you appear to be, but few know what you truly are. Let the world see calm. Let them see distance. Let them interpret your silence however they want. You don't owe them access. But here is the final twist, the one no one warns you about. Once the parasites are gone, once the noise fades, once the constant demands disappear, you will be alone in a quiet room with a mirror, and in that mirror, you may realize something unsettling. What if the person you were trying so desperately to save was not them? What if it was a part of you, the part that needed to be needed, the part that equated suffering with worth, the part that mistook endurance for identity? Many people don't save others out of compassion. They save others to avoid facing their own unhealed wounds. Fixing external chaos is easier than confronting internal emptiness. Machiavelli would not console you here. He would challenge you. He would ask whether your savior complex was virtue or avoidance, whether your generosity was love or fear of being insignificant without it. This is the shadow most never face. When you remove everyone who feeds on your weakness, you are left with responsibility, no one to blame, no one to rescue, just you and the question, who are you without the role of savior? That is where true power begins. Because now your kindness is no longer compulsive, it is deliberate. Now your loyalty is no longer automatic, it is earned. Now your silence is no longer emptiness, it is presence. You move differently. You listen more. You react less. You no longer explain yourself to people who have not earned explanation. Your boundaries are not loud, but they are immovable, and people feel it. Some will drift away. Let them. They were never aligned with your future. Others will approach more carefully, sensing that access to you is no longer guaranteed. This is not isolation. It is refinement. Power is not about dominating others. It is about governing yourself so completely that no one else can. Machiavelli never taught hatred. He taught discernment. He never glorified cruelty. He exposed naivety. His lesson was simple and unforgiving. A man who cannot choose who deserves his time will lose his life to those who exploit it. So choose. Choose distance over guilt. Choose clarity over chaos. Choose sovereignty over self-sacrifice. And understand this, letting go is not abandonment. It is alignment. You are not here to be drained. You are here to build. And builders must protect their materials. This is the awakening. The moment you stop asking who needs you and start asking who is worthy of you. And once that question becomes your compass, nothing and no one will ever truly control you again. Here is where everything settles into place. Once you stop saving everyone, once you stop explaining yourself, once you stop volunteering your soul as a public resource, a strange fear emerges. Not fear of others, but fear of yourself. Because now there is no noise to hide behind, no emergencies to manage, no broken people to distract you, only silence. And silence has a way of telling the truth. Many people never reach this stage. They stay busy, rescuing, fixing, tolerating, because stillness would force them to confront a question they've avoided their entire lives. Who am I when I am no longer needed? Machiavelli understood this final enemy well. He knew that the hardest battle is not against rivals, traitors, or parasites, but against the version of yourself that was built to survive weakness rather than transcend it. You weren't born a savior. You became one, usually early, usually quietly. You learned that being useful earned safety, that being needed earned belonging, that carrying others made you valuable. And over time, that coping strategy hardened into identity. But identities built on sacrifice always collapse, because the world does not reward those who give endlessly. It consumes them. Now that you see this clearly, you face a choice most people never make. You can retreat back into familiarity, into guilt, obligation, emotional labor. Or you can step forward into something colder, cleaner, and infinitely more powerful. Self-command. Machiavelli would tell you that mastery begins the moment you stop outsourcing your worth. When you no longer need to be seen as good, when you no longer need to be liked, when your decisions stop being shaped by fear of judgment and start being guided by long-term advantage. This is where restraint becomes strength. You will notice it first in small ways. You pause before responding. You no longer rush to fix. You let people sit with their discomfort instead of absorbing it for them. And something interesting happens. Their true nature surfaces. Those who respected you remain. Those who exploited you grow restless. They test, they provoke, they accuse. They try to pull you back into the role you abandoned. Do not flinch. Machiavelli warned that when you withdraw power from those who fed on it, they will attack your character. Not because you became worse, but because you became unavailable. Let them talk. Power does not require consensus. It requires position. And your position is no longer negotiable. At this stage, your kindness changes texture. It is no longer soft and porous. It is precise. You give without attachment. You help without surrender. You care without self-betrayal. And when someone crosses a line, you don't argue. You remove access. This is not cruelty. This is hygiene. Just as you wouldn't drink poisoned water out of politeness, you no longer absorb destructive people out of habit. You have learned discernment, the rarest form of intelligence. Now listen carefully, because this is the final awakening. The goal was never to harden your heart. It was to harden your boundaries so your heart could remain intact. Machiavelli did not want men to become monsters. He wanted them to stop being prey. He wanted them to understand that goodness without power is a liability, and power without wisdom is destruction. But when the two are balanced, when strength protects virtue, you become untouchable. You are no longer reactive. You are selective. You are no longer loud. You are deliberate. You are no longer drained. You are contained. This containment is what others feel as presence. When you enter a room now, you don't chase attention. You carry weight. When you speak, you don't over-explain. You decide. When you leave, your absence is noticed, not because you demanded it, but because you are no longer everywhere. This is sovereignty, and sovereignty is lonely at first, but it is also clean. There is no more resentment, no more hidden anger, no more exhaustion disguised as virtue, just clarity. Machiavelli's final lesson was never about domination over others. It was about dominion over self. The man who governs his time, his energy, his emotions, and his associations cannot be ruled. You are not here to save the world. You are here to build a life that cannot be hijacked. And now, you understand the ultimate paradox. When you stop trying to save everyone, you become capable of truly helping the few who matter. Not because you are obligated, but because you choose to. That choice is power. So let the world misunderstand you. Let them call you distant. Let them say you've changed. You have. You've stopped leaking yourself into unworthy hands. You've learned the hardest art of all, the art of letting go. And once you master that, nothing and no one can drain you again. And now, understand this clearly. Power does not arrive with noise. It does not announce itself. It does not seek approval. Power arrives the moment you stop offering yourself as a sacrifice to people who refuse to rise. You were never meant to save everyone. That belief was not virtue. It was conditioning. A quiet agreement you made long ago to trade your peace for acceptance, your strength for relevance, your future for the illusion of being needed. From this moment forward, your life will change not by addition, but by subtraction. You will remove what drains you. You will withdraw from what weakens you. You will stop explaining your boundaries to people who only benefited from your lack of them. This will feel uncomfortable at first. Guilt will surface. Doubt will whisper. Old identities will resist their own extinction. Let them. Growth always feels like loss to the version of you that survived by pleasing. Machiavelli understood this final law. A man becomes dangerous not when he gains more power, but when he becomes unreachable to manipulation, when chaos no longer summons him, when guilt no longer moves him, when silence becomes his answer and distance becomes his shield. Let the world misunderstand you. Let them call you cold, selfish, Machiavellian. Those labels are irrelevant to a man who finally governs himself. Because when you stop saving the unsavable, you don't become heartless. You become precise. You become sovereign. You become free. And a free man, one who chooses where his energy goes and who earns his presence, is the rarest force in the world. That is the power Machiavelli was pointing toward all along.